All right, everybody, we're trying it again. Looks like we're logging, and it's going live. There we go. There we go. Now we're getting some progress here. So your microphone's on and on, so don't start talking yet. Just be a blur. But again, once again, everybody, Doug Fowler here, Pulaski Talks. First inaugural roundtable discussion with sheriff candidates for Pulaski County. Shout out to our gold sponsor, Peru Law Office down in Waynesville, Missouri, for supporting this stream, along with our other sponsors, to include the three gentlemen sitting in front of us. And with that, we're going to kick off this debate/roundtable discussion. I'll be honest with everybody out there, it's going to kind of fly by ear. I've never held a debate, but we figured we'd try it out together as a collective, just so the voters of Pulaski County can make a better informed decision about who they want as sheriff. Debate rules are as follows. The introduction. Each candidate will be given an opportunity to introduce themselves, and the introduction will be limited to 1 minute. Answers to a moderator question, which is me as the moderator, will be limited to two minutes. Responses or rebuttal by colleague to 1 minute, and response to the rebuttal to 1 minute. But we'll play by ear. If we need to adjust to give you the best product we can, we'll do that. So with that, I'm going to turn the mics on. I got like 5 of them here. And Nick, you want to go first? Give your 1 minute introduction. You're live. Here you go.
Well, everybody, we appreciate you coming tonight, or at least watching. I'm Nick Pappas, one of several candidates for sheriff. I bring 27 years of street experience, law enforcement experience, 2 master's degrees, 8 years in leadership position in one office. Almost my entire law enforcement career has been in a leadership position, one fashion or another. I bring an aggressive approach to narcotics and all other investigations. We talked a lot about narcotics. I'm sure we're going to get into it, but that's not the only issue facing this county. I bring a lot of passion to the job, contrary to what people may believe. When I was appointed coroner, it gave me a whole nother insight, the impact that drugs have on this county and the crimes associated with that. So with that being in mind,
You're done.
Time's up, Brian.
1 minute. It's rough. That's my timekeeper. We won't put her on camera, but she holds no quorum.
Yeah,
That's right. I don't have any.
card and yellow card. Yeah.
You just hit
started.
Now I'll turn it over to Brian Gibbs. Brian, go ahead. Once she gives you the thumbs up.
As soon as you start, I'll hit.
All right, that's easy.
Yeah.
All right, Brian Gibbs. Worked in Pulaski County for most of my emergency services career as law enforcement. Started out at Dixon back in 2010, 2011 timeframe. Then spent 6.5 years at St. Robert as a patrolman. Then went to work for Kevin Hillman as his investigator for about a year and a half. And since about 2018, I've been aligned with the Sheriff's Department, either starting out as a reserve when I was working for Mr. Hillman's office, and I'm currently the detective sergeant. I'm unfortunately the only candidate that has the inside view of what's going on. It's kind of a bad thing, but it's also a good thing because I know where we need to start, what needs to be fixed, and what needs to be worked on pretty hard. So,
Okay.
I won't use the whole time. I'll let Stacey.
What do they call it? You're going to yield your time? No, you get 1 minute and that's it. Or she'll throw her phone at you whenever you're ready. Stacey, when you start.
Hello, my name is Stacey Ball. I'm a Republican candidate for Pulaski County Sheriff. I have over 30 years of military and civilian law enforcement. I've worked narcotics as a drug task force officer. I've been a detective for Pulaski County Sheriff's Office for several years. I'm also a reserve detective for Crocker Police Department. I'm also a reserve deputy sheriff slash task force officer for Phelps County and Rolla Area Drug Enforcement Group. A lot of things I want to do, a lot of things I want to change. Leadership drives the train as far as I'm concerned, and I'm sure you'll get a lot of that tonight, but just listen and vote for your candidate. And wish all my candidate brothers here, good luck.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I also want to give a shout out to all 3 of you and the 2 candidates that are not here for at least standing up, taking a step forward to help the county out, to be willing to serve. It is a service, and I want us to give a hats out. And you get an applause. You can't hear it, but I'm giving you applause. Everybody online here, you can. It's all right. So thank you so much to each of you. So Nick, you get the first question. You start out, or you get the question first, and then we'll roll down and we'll start out and be all fair.
Right.
2 minutes, what you get the answer. Harm reduction strategies. Now we're talking drug problem in Pulaski County, and everybody knows how bad it is. What harm reduction strategies do you plan to implement to reduce drug overdose deaths in Pulaski County?
So I actually mentioned this last week in another podcast I had done. Along with the aggressive narcotics investigations, right? So working with the task force, whichever task force we decide to keep or bring in, they're only as good as we make them. We got to work together. We got to push them information and support them in their operations. But two, the other thing that I've talked about is a community action team. That terminology may change once it gets into effect. But what that is you bring all the stakeholders. So we're not talking just the health department or say Compass Health, who we use, and anybody else. We're talking the community as a whole, your faith-based organizations, just your everyday citizen. And we look at these long-term solutions. We can no longer say we're doing onesies and twosies because we've continued to do that. We're still averaging between 20 and 30 ODs a year. I know as a deputy coroner, I see them. These guys will see them as well. So that is based on immediate attention. We go to an OD, and it's not just us. So if any one of us, a family member, church member, whoever it may be, you have somebody in crisis, they go and we have a center point of contact. And they are able to reach all these assets to start that healing process and that recovery right then and there. And then it lays out a support chain to continuously do it. Because if you've ever talked to an addict, they're never really over it. They will tell you they are a recovering addict. I've met them 8 years down the road. I've met them at factories that near where I work now. And so it's a continuous chain. But the only way we can do that is bring everybody together, say, hey, these are the issues that face our county. Am I out? Oh.
You can finish your.
Okay, so it's a community event. It's a community effort.
If you give them an inch, they'll take a mile.
Yeah.
I was going to say, she's giving us leeway. That's going to be a mistake.
She's nice. It's very nice. So I'm going to repeat the question for you, Mr. Gibbs. What harm reduction strategies do you plan to implement to reduce drug overdose deaths in Pulaski County?
Well, I've already started on a good portion of it. Nick can verify. I was given information by Miss Dana Blainer. Don't know if she's watching or not, but I was finally able to get hold of the individual from the DEA. Either October or November this year, we're bringing down OD Justice Program, and we're going to open that up and have that training to all area local law enforcement and anybody else we can get who wants to come to it. That'll teach us, one, how to build the case for the federal system, and we're going to skip the state, charge them federally, because federally it's a mandatory 20 years. We got to cut out the middleman with the state. The state's too lenient on this problem.
Right.
We're going to continue to work with Compass Health as we do now, as well as CIT. We have them coming into the jail so that they can get those services there, because like Nick said, it's an ongoing problem. If you don't get them the support, build up their support, and let them know that someone's there for them and give them something to turn to, they're going to turn right back to drugs. Throughout my whole career, I don't know about these two gentlemen on either side of me, but two addicts are the only ones that I can say that have gotten off drugs with the help and resources that I've given them. So, and it's an ongoing problem, and you know, you got to make sure they have the support. You got to make sure you're able to provide the services and work continually with those services. And not only that, but monthly intel meetings with all the area departments, because those addicts are going to travel. They're going to be dealt with by all of them. You want to find out who they are, ways you can help them. And that will also, you know, monthly intel meetings will also lead to the dealers and cracking down on them to shut them down and get them out of our county. But I think the Project OD Justice and bringing that down is going to be a big start and a big support to it. But we've got to work together with all our local brothers and sisters to keep that going and build those cases to get these dealers out of here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And you didn't get thrown at, so she didn't.
I know, right? I'm good. I'm 2 for 2.
Mr. Ball, same question. What harm reduction strategies do you plan to implement to reduce drug overdose deaths in Pulaski County?
I'm glad we're starting out with this because there's a lot of things that we can do that we haven't done. One of the biggest things I say, we got Compass Health in the jail. We got other programs. We got the Veterans Court. We got the drug court. But when we have medical professionals and we have counselors and stuff preaching to these addicts, especially in jail, because we got to stop the recidivism in the daggone jail, and most of that comes from from drugs. Mm-hmm. One thing that I want to do is I've talked to several recovered addicts that are faith-based. They're in the churches now, and they would love to come down and give their testimony. They love to talk to these individuals to show them that they've recovered, they can do it, and give them points and tips and tricks and how they did it to help them also see that, hey, if this person can do it, I can do it. Because you want to hear from the horse's mouth. Not just a counselor, not just the medical professional, because Stacy Ball I've never been an addict. I've never been addicted to any type of drug. So me preaching to him, which I did a lot as a narcotics officer, I got 2 through core. 1 through core, 1 came back on a pass, and he found himself around his people again. And unfortunately, he's not here with us. However, those people like that have been there and done that and have recovered and are doing great things, and now they're a great citizen in this county now doing great things. I think that would be a big help and a big step. On top of that, education. Education starts at home. But as well, we give them the resources for education, such as a one-stop shop for finding that education on drugs. Give the parents that information if they want to talk to their because that's really who should be starting this at home. Am I done? No. At home.
At home. And dead science, deadpan. Oh, there. Great. Thank you so much. Second question goes to, we go back. Any rebuttals? Any commentary?
Don't you have a rebuttal?
No, not a rebuttal. I'm going to add a little bit to what Stacy said.
Go ahead, please.
And it's one
Limited to 1 minute.
Not to eat up a whole minute. So, Stacy actually brings up a valid point, which is part of the I call it, again, a community action team, a CAT team that's just, I hijacked it from someone else. And it's a peer support group, and I believe that's what you're referring to. And what people don't understand is those groups, and I will validate what he's saying is important because nobody wants to talk to a cop. They do, but long-term it's peer support group. And now that all falls in it, and starting at the jail. But the big thing is deterring it, diverting that. We can't divert. We make a case, we make a case. And unfortunately for law enforcement, the only way sometimes we can get them that treatment is to force it. But if you get the community involved, before we have to get involved, that's that diversion and get them the help and actually use that very peer support group that Stacy was talking about.
Awesome. Thank you.
Who's starting next one?
Next will be Mr. Gibbs. Give me a second. I got a technical glitch. Has not surprised. Caveat to got some viewers there. He says you can't comment. I don't understand why it's not letting you comment, but I can't restart the show. But it's most important that everybody gets to listen to the questions that I ask because I'm more important than everybody else anyway. So.
What about us?
Well, you're here. You're here. I'm behind the camera. No, I'm not. I got my own camera. Second question, Mr. Gibbs. Community outreach and education. How or what initiatives will you introduce to educate the community about the dangers of drug use and available resources for help?
Okay, so I've already done this a little bit. I've been supplying some literature because as the Sheriff's Department, we get a lot of literature in regards to drugs and the safety and the dangers of them, but we can't get everywhere. There's no way. So I've been sharing that literature with the Pulaski County Coalition Against Drugs and Mr. Bales to push that out there. I try and give it out to, if the schools want it, I'll deliver it to them too so they can get it out there to the schools. But mainly we also need to start all these public events that are open to the public that have vendors. Get our guys out there, even if we got to go ourselves as sheriff. We need to get out there and do it to talk about individuals to talk to the individuals about it, educate them about it and the dangers, and to let the parents know that this is not something you turn a blind eye to. I mean, even when it comes down to cell phones, how many parents know what their kids are doing on cell phones? I mean, and drugs are the same way. You're not going to know it. 95% of them won't until it's too late, or 99% won't know till it's too late. And that's what it is. We got to get boots on the ground, get out there, outreach to the community, be at these events, be wherever we can to educate the community and talk to them about the problem, because if we know about it and we're turning a blind eye, if we know a new drug has hit our area and we're not sharing that information, we're just as bad as the dealers out there pushing it, because we're not giving our community a heads up of what they need to look out for and what they need to do to protect themselves.
Great, thank you so much. Mr. Ball, same question. What initiatives will you introduce to educate the community about the dangers of drug use and the available resources for help?
Well, the Pulaski County Coalition Against Drugs is a great start, but to add to that, what I want to introduce is the Angel Moms. I've talked to it before. The Angel Moms, these moms that have lost someone, lost their son, daughter, friend, uncle, whoever, they are also a knowledge of information, because I believe, just like introducing our addicts to recovering addicts, well, angel moms that have lost that person that's dearest to them, their son or daughter, a family member, they're able to get through to these parents. They're able to get through to people a lot better than just reading that pamphlet. Great information. I agree. But hearing from the horse's mouth again is a great way to get somebody else thinking, especially a parent thinking, I'm not going to let my son or daughter go through that. If y'all out there in online land, you just Google drug emojis and look at that sheet.
Wow.
And it'll show you all the emojis, well, pretty much all the emojis that they use online, Snapchat, Instagram, whatever, where you can buy a half gram of heroin for $50. I'll meet you at 10. So that's another resource too, and we should be pushing that out as well. It should be on our website. I put it on my school resource officer website for and I was at Freedom Elementary, but still, that's something that parents need to know, because yes, parents do need to check their phones. Parents do not check the phones enough. They need to see who they're talking to. They need to see who they're texting. They need to see what they're texting, music they're listening to. It'll point them in a direction that they can see where their son or daughter might be straying from the path that they think they're already on.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ball. Mr. Pappas, same question. What initiatives will you introduce to educate the community about the dangers of drug use and the available resources for help?
That would be a community forum set up, whether it be online, a program such as yours or others. But I tend to lean more towards a peer support, where you have the parents of someone that's a recovering addict or someone that's lost one to addiction. And if you hear it from those folks, it puts a whole nother light on it. I've been to hundreds of overdose deaths. You can pull them up. 2018, when I was appointed coroner, it seemed like it was an endless battle. OD death, OD death, OD death. And again, I kind of came in callous at that time, but it gives you a whole new light. One of the biggest things is we have to start in the schools with the kids. I've arrested entire families in my tenure as a law enforcement officer, especially on the civilian side. The whole family is struggles with it. And the kid comes up around it, well, that becomes a normal way of life. So we got to get to them in the schools, work with our schools, use community outlets, community forums, and let the community have a voice. Because again, they're going to listen. We wear a badge. If it comes from their peer, it gives more meaning to it. Somebody that's actually encountered it. I could tell you all the gruesome details about all the OD deaths, and it will fall on deaf ears so many times. We've got to get the families out there and give them that voice, even if it's just their voice, if they're camera shy. Give them that voice. So town hall meetings, Stacy's talked about that. I don't necessarily call them town hall. I call them a forum where it's back and forth. Most importantly is giving the community the feedback. Hey, these are issues we have. with our children and the type of drugs going around, and this is what you need to look for. A lot of people look at it as we're giving our county a black eye. No, it's a reality. The only way we're going to resolve it is to arm our community with the information and give them the ability to address it.
Thank you so much. Any rebuttals? Any follow-up? I'm going to remind the audience listening at home, we're not taking questions right now, but you go ahead and post them. If we do have time at the end of the show, I'll relay the questions to the candidates. Yeah, we got some questions up there. If you can read that, I'm impressed.
I just know, I saw it scrolling.
I saw him looking at us like,
Yeah, that's an age right there. So, all the candidates right here are looking at the TV over my shoulders, about 20 feet away from them, trying to read the comments.
I just saw it scrolling, so I thought,
Thank you so much, everybody, for putting the comments together. Next question, community policing and public trust. This is important. I've talked to all of you about this, and that being transparency. What specific strategy, who's next? Stacey is. What specific strategies will you implement to improve community policing and ensure transparency?
Well, we need to start using the honesty with that transparency thing, that transparency word. The biggest thing that I see is no matter how many great things we do, we don't do enough as far as getting that information out to the public. As we've talked about the website and stuff like that, talking and just thinking about it today, like our website, there's more to community policing than just going out and meeting people. There's more to community policing than just going out and checking, hey, everything good in your area. That one-stop shop, like the website, the county website, thinking about it today, that county website should be everything in that county on that one website. It should be a separate sheriff's department website. It shouldn't be a separate corner website. It shouldn't be a separate web. Bring all them together so when somebody clicks on PulaskiCountyGovernment.org or whatever, they see the sheriff's department tab, they see the coroner's tab, they see the assessor's tab, and then within that website, we put the information that needs to get out there to the public. If they want to know about the trending areas for crimes, for drug activity and things like that, they can see the areas that we're looking at to be aware of, to be alert to. You see something, say something. So I wanted to add that into, that should be a part when we're thinking of community policing and stuff like that, and that also falls into transparency. The more information we put out, nothing ages like fine wine if we just sit there and say nothing. And like I think Nick said, it may give the sheriff a black eye, but guess what? If it's not out there, it's going to get worse. Now you're going to have two black eyes. So the more information we push out, with information overload, it's there. They can find it, easily find it, navigate to it. Whatever they're looking for from whatever government aspect or whatever government agency for the county they're looking for.
Thank you so much. Nick, Mr. Pappas?
oh, it's my turn.
Read it, going around the having.
My bad.
What specific strategies will you implement to improve community policing and ensure transparency?
I want to do something similar to what I did when I was chief. So, we always have, all the chiefs usually give a monthly update, right, to the council. However, I will push that out. Current problems we're facing, budget issues we're facing. It's not to whine. A lot of people are like, well, whatever public official, you can pick one. We talk about a budget, well, they're whining. No, the community wants to know why we're not doing something. Why don't we have more patrols on the road? Well, fuel costs, whatever it may be. Be able to explain it to them. Second thing is transparency is more than just saying, here it is. If Doug Fowler comes to me with an issue, a lot of people may have the same issue. So let's put it out there and say, hey, I was approached, and push that out. But it's also giving feedback. I can tell you this day, I still slip. People want to know what happened. We're busy. We make a case, we file the case, we're on to the next one, right? The victim may not know what's going on. We file it, we're done, we're moving to the next one. And it's kind of the nature of the beast. I want to change that, make sure we're giving the feedback to the community, not I just said a victim, but the community at large. So whether it's a forum, social media, news, radio, whatever media we can get, give that feedback to the community and allow them to give input. and feedback again if necessary, and just kind of repeat that cycle. The open lines of communication, posting our stats, what we're doing, why we're doing it, where we're having issues, that type of thing. Again, it's not to whine, it's saying, hey, we had a lot of issues this month. We only have so many people, you know. I can tell you right now, I'm not speaking on behalf of the Sheriff's Department, Brian, you can beat me up, but I can tell you these guys will get a call, and I've heard it while I'm out on the trail. Well, it took them 2 hours to get here. Well, when they're, you know, wrapped up in a domestic and there's two on, you know, that's one of the most top-rated death scenes for a law enforcement officer. So explaining to the community goes a long way, and I'm out, I know.
Mr. Gibbs, shall I read it for you? What specific strategies will you implement to improve community policing and ensure transparency?
I think it goes a little bit deeper than just posting stats on Facebook, like you have said, and some of the things that you have said. It goes deeper than all those things together. We, as law enforcement, for the Sheriff's Department, need to get out in the public more as well. We need to be at school events and make our presence known. Yeah, I get it. We're busy. We're patrolling 550 plus square miles, and it can take us forever to get from one side to the other. But, I mean, even if a deputy's on duty, like when you were SRO, how many Sheriff's Department and local police did you carry and get to football games? I mean, get them out there. Get them to those events. What's wrong with during Law Enforcement Appreciation Week or whatever, hosting something down at the department to bring in the public and give them jail tours, give them some free food, talk about some of the issues they're having in their neck of the woods in the community and things like that. So just getting out there more ourselves, making sure that we have some sort of representation at community events, getting out there and talking to the community and actually addressing their woes and their concerns instead of just, you know, if they ask us a question on Facebook, just ignoring it or not doing anything with it and just leaving it there to sit. You're elected. You answer to these individuals. That is your job. So you need to sit, listen to them, have an open door and let them come and talk to you and express their concerns and be ready to answer their concerns the best that you can. You may not have the answer right then and there, like they ask, well, where's this money going in the budget? Okay, I get it. You want that answer? Come back and see me this date and time. I'll have it for you. I just don't have it right now. But addressing their concerns rather than just brushing them off and ignoring them. And I feel that's kind of the way everybody feels, is they've been brushed off and ignored with their concerns, and they're not liking it, and they shouldn't, because they elect us. We work for them. We get office. It's not my sheriff's office. It's not their sheriff's office. It's the county's sheriff's office, because the community owns it. We answer to them.
Thank you so much. We got fixed on that sheriff's office first department. We made that clear yesterday.
I'm glad you said sheriff's office.
Any rebuttal? Want to comment?
I got just to add on, because the other part of that too, and we touched on it a little bit, but feedback from our law enforcement officers, from the sheriff, whoever it may be, to the community. Because some of the things that I hear out there, walk pounding the pavement, going to door to door, a lot of issues that I've heard, and it takes 3, 4, 5 days for anybody to get back to them, and that comes from like days off. So I've called, haven't got an answer. Well, one thing that whoever the sheriff is, we need to fix that feedback issue that the public sees out there, as far as the deputies or detectives, whoever, getting back to them in a timely manner. Because like I said, you just let it go, and then they're going to think, well, you know, I've been a year since I've heard from anybody. I've tried it, and you know, things get, you know, elevated a little bit or misinterpreted, things like that. But no matter who the sheriff is, we need to find a solution to fix that feedback, to get back to whatever case or whatever that deputy or that detective is working.
Great. Thank you so much. Anybody else add to take away? Thank you so much for the comments. We'll address those at the end of the show when we wrap things up. We're looking pretty good. We've been online for 30 solid minutes, so that's pretty good. Thank you so much for everybody who's watching and listening. Budget and management and resource allocation is the next topic. Who's up? I believe Nick's up.
Did you just answer? He just answered.
Okay, it's my turn.
Question are you on?
Huh?
What number question?
Oh, I have no idea. I just make things up.
We're just flowing.
We're flowing it, but we sound really good.
You do.
I mean, everybody, even yeah, okay, everybody's saying we look great. No, they don't. But anyway, Mr. Pappas, topic near and dear to the heart, and I see this in a couple of comments so far talking about the budget. How will you prioritize and manage the sheriff's office budget to ensure efficient use of resources?
That comes through a careful assessment. So regardless who's in there, and Brian did make a comment, he's on the inside, but being where he's at now, you know, he's going to move up and he's going to see things he doesn't see. We're not on the inside. We're going to see a whole new world, right? A real good assessment. Where are we expending manpower? Where are we spending the money? So we can pull the budgets. I have. Budgets are just that. They're dollar amounts, but that's not saying, well, where's our money going? How are we spending it in that budget line? You can do a lot with a little, and you can do it quickly. If you go back when I was a chief, the stats have dropped by almost 80% compared to when I was there. That's through leadership, managing the budget. Sometimes you got to squeeze a penny until you squeeze the color out of it. That's the nature of the beast. But one of the big things is making sure the deputies have what they need to do the job. So sometimes it's, you know, people are like, well, why do they really need a new car? Well, go out on these county roads with a car that's got 160,000 miles and watch it rattle itself right off the road. Okay, when I first joined the Sheriff's Department, our cars had 200 to 250,000 miles apiece. That was a lot of miles. So making sure we're allocating those money, and you can get grants. I've successfully written a lot of grants for everything from body cams to cars to whatever. But assessing where we're spending money, fuel, manpower, supplies, the jail is a beast, getting in there, making sure we're getting our board back, because that's not free. People think the inmates are living for free. Well, they actually get charged board. Sometimes we're not always lucky in getting the money back, but making sure those bills are getting out on time and that type of thing. So it starts with a good, honest assessment and being honest with ourselves and saying we need necessities over niceties.
Thank you so much. Mr. Gibbs, would you like me to reread it?
No. Well,
Okay.
It's a budget question, so it's pretty much a mess to begin with. Not going to lie. So, and this is why I kind of want to have a committee set up for the budget, not just my budget, my rules. This is how we're going to spend the money. Because, like Nick said, I'll see it from one side, but my guys working the road or something, they're going to see it from a different side. They're going to know what tools and everything they need to do their job effectively. So having a committee of not only your sheriff, some of your deputies, another member of leadership, your jail leadership, and then bring in one or two for the community and work it out with everybody and say, okay, here's what we're working with. Here's what we need. Let's try and figure this out. And we were pulled aside, all of us, after the forum up at the community center. And Gene said that the budget will be ours come November. We'll be able to sit down and work on that. So we don't have to worry about being under the previous sheriff's budget. And Gene and Mac, the treasurer himself, has said they're willing to sit down with anybody that wants to and go over that budget. So they've been doing this for years, sitting down and working with them as well and trying to figure it out. But like Nick said, some of it you just want to be nice because, you want it. You want to be top of the line and say, hey, we got this, but your department may not need it. Right. But one of the things we really should probably look at, because like he's saying, the vehicles, and right now we're paying $244 or $246 or $260,000 for a lease on trucks through the bank. And that's something that whoever gets in, we could probably sit down, make some cuts somewhere of stuff we don't need, and actually look at a fleet package to get those vehicles rotated in and out to where maintenance is covered and everything except for the fuel, because that would be a big money saver there. But, sitting down, looking at the budget, because that's going to be your second biggest headache. Your first biggest headache going to be that jail, no matter what. So sitting down, looking at that budget, getting with your people, and seeing what the necessities are from the department, especially if you're new.
Great. Thank you so much. Mr. Ball, shall I read the question again? No. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, with the budget. First thing we need to be thinking about with the budget is that 2-year, 5-year, and 10-year down the line. Looking at the money spent now. getting those key players, like has been discussed throughout the county government with the commissioners, with Dave, with Mac, and also each of the sections within the sheriff's office that need money as well to operate. To find out what went right with the budget, what is good with the budget, and once we figure that out, and then bring it back and hey, where can we prioritize our money? Where can we take from to prioritize line items like training, line items like going dadgummit, ammunition, line items for critical needs, and taking that money and trying to build on it each year, trying to come in. We gotta start coming into the green somewhere, and we gotta start. But we gotta also remember that once we get that first quarter budget done, then we look at the second quarter budget. We start looking at the second. We start looking at the third quarter budget to try and improve on that first quarter. There should be throughout the year monthly spending for that, and we calculate it on Excel spreadsheet or whatever, so we can see what we spent that month, so we can go back and refer to that for the next month and the following month. But we got to look at in that budget. We got to look at the long-term effects as well. That 2, 5, and 10-year expansion, because the budget's going to grow a little bit, but throwing in grants, throwing in things to relieve that budget. Finally, working a way to get those federal inmates into our jail to take some relief off of that budget. That's going to be some key issues that the sheriff that's coming in needs to be thinking about as well, and that should be around the 2 to 5 year mark, getting where we need to be to start relieving ourselves, especially with those federal inmates.
Great, thank you so much. Any rebuttal?
No, I'll add too. I think when I talked about an assessment also is a community-based assessment. So our budget's not just based on the needs of what we need, it's based on the service, right? So our budget's based on what we need to provide to our community. That's what it circles. So we got to focus on the needs of the community. So our budget needs to reflect that. But like he was talking about, we got to cut in certain areas. We're going to have to. That always stings a little bit, but we've got to build that budget. And before we ever ask for more money, this is always a pet peeve. I need to be able to show you what I can do with what I have before I ask you for more, right? And I think that's really relevant to what we're getting at. So I just wanted to throw that little tidbit in real quick.
Mr. Gibbs?
None that.
Okay. Who's next? Who's up to Mr. Gibbs is up. Technology, my favorite subject. Data-driven approaches. How will you use technology and data to identify drug hotspots and allocate resources effectively to combat these problems?
So specifically for drugs themselves? Well, like Nick says, when we go to these overdose scenes, the key step, and hopefully a lot of this will come out with that OD Justice program and training, is when you arrest these dealers, you get the addicts in there that have the information, is sit down talking with them, if you need to, getting warrants for their phones. We don't need to send everything off to a lab. I was able to bring in, when I first came over to the sheriff's department, a data pilot system that downloads those cell phones. So if we get consent warrants and start actually keeping track of them, and then using a map, somebody's term battle map, to identify these spots and see where the hot spots are, and then increasing patrols the best we can in that area. And again, that's going to come in hand as well as working with your other agencies, the task force that we have in there, and developing a plan of attack and how to handle the situation with them. Because your task force officers, they're going to be a wealth of information. They're going to have the people working for them that can point you to those spots, that can get you that information, that can tell you, what accounts do they use, what apps and things do they use. And then your detective unit can go into digging into those apps, trying to find these users, detect patterns and things like that to find the dealers, and use that mapped out information to not only build your case, but, to make the arrests and get the charges.
Right.
But there's so much out there that we can do. But again, you got to have some sort of median, And we just got done with the budget question, and that's one of the things that we're gonna have to get into is looking into some of those programs, because some of them might be free, yes, but some of them you got to pay for yearly licenses, software, things like that. It's just going to be a matter of what fits our department, what can we get, and how well we can work with it to accomplish the goal.
Great, thank you so much. Mr. Ball, would you like me to read the question again? How will you use data and technology to identify drug hotspots and allocate resources effectively to combat the drug problem at those spots?
All right. Yeah. The first big thing is, it was touched on, is getting that drug task force out here. That bulldog of a drug task force officer. And to be honest with you, we need several, but that's a budget constraint. However, being as this county is riddled with the drugs that it is at this time, getting what we can get from that drug task officer, finding the trends on the map and my battle map, and showing those trends and giving the public that information, because that comes back into community relations, is getting that information back from the community. That's what we need. We need the community members to be able to trust us and talk to us, to give us that information, those little tidbits, because that, they may not, they may call in and give us a little bit of information. It may not be nothing. But then we get somebody else calling in for the same tidbit of information. We get somebody else calling. Now we're starting to see something. So that first 2 or 3 times, it may not lead us to a search warrant or get us out there but as it adds up, as it starts building up, now we got more to go on. Now, hey, we need to find out what's going on out here. We need to deal with that, and just given the citizens of this county, the trust and confidence in our law enforcement, that we are going to react to their concerns. For whatever concern they have as far as the drug problem, and with that information that we get from them, that was a huge part for me on the drug task force, getting that information from the community, and acting on it, and doing surveillance to get the information I need, finding CIs, pulling people over, getting the information, the intelligence I need to be able to enact on that and eventually turn that into a search warrant.
Great, thank you so much. Nick, you up?
Yeah, so I've actually talked about it before. It's under intelligence-led policing, right? So you use crime mapping, and we talk a lot about drugs because that is what's prevalent. That's what the community sees, but there's also a lot of thefts. This is not the depression area where people steal to feed their families. Usually the thefts are somehow tied to drugs, unfortunately, right? They're feeding their habit. So they're feeding something. But all those can get mapped, although the systems can get a little bit of pricey, especially depending on how bulky a crime mapping system you want. You can use MOCIC, you can use MIAC, Missouri Information Analysis Center. The only thing is you got to be able to get them all that data. It has to be accurate, and they can map it for you, but you have to wait. We're providing them the info, they're putting it together, and they're bringing it back. The TFOs, the task force officers, are a wealth of knowledge. Again, they can only be as good as we can make them. So if we're not giving them what they need, they may not have a baseline to get started. The deputies are the ones on the road every day encountering people. So listening to what they're saying and actually using what they're providing is critical, getting it documented, getting it mapped, and then paying attention to that, hitting the hot spots like Brian was talking about, and not just hitting them, but being effective. You can show up all day long. If you don't stop a car, you don't get out and talk to people, presence is good, but they'll go behind the building and do the dope deal if they know you're too lazy to get out of your patrol car. I despise laziness. So if you see something, take action. Otherwise, you don't need to carry a badge. But the crime mapping is feasible. There are systems out there. They are a little bit pricey, unfortunately, but you can use other programs to do it. It takes a tech. I'm not real good at it. I have people I go to do it. Computers don't like me. But getting the community to give you information as well.
Great.
I do want to add something on.
Okay, go ahead.
To both something they said. One, you said we need to react. We need to quit reacting, and we need to go out there and be proactive. And like you touched on downstairs at the jail, the stealing and this and that, you can go down to the jail and go to any inmate, no matter what their charges are in there for. Drugs are probably going to be a 95% chance of the reason they're in there or the reason that led to their charges. So it's a big problem, and it also ties into the mental health aspect, and that's a big portion that we need to work on too.
Any other comments?
I don't know what context I use react in. I can't recall right now, but I've been harping on being proactive, and having worked narcotics and being proactive like that, talking to the people in the jail, talking to people in other jails, talking to the deputies, which yes are a wealth of information if they get out there and find those stops and find those people that we need to talk to, and letting us know they had a stop and they got this off of them. All right, well, I'm coming in to talk to them all the time. They call me up. Officers from St. Robert will call me up. Hey, I got this. You want to come and talk to? Absolutely. You go in right then and there. You don't let them stew on it. You go in there and let them get that information right then and there and take care of it. And I think MCO and MOAC, yeah, they are a wealth of. He brought that up. They have tools that are available to us to rent for free, camera systems and that they can put up. And we have 3-letter agencies that will allow us to use some systems as well, such as cameras that we can track on our phone. And there are other systems out there that, yes, are pricey, but, well, I'll talk to them about it offline. But that information right there, that new system that they have out now that I'll talk to them about, the public don't need to know about, is a great tool to find what we're looking for.
Great, thank you so much. Great segue question. Who's next? Lost track. Stacy, you're up. Collaboration with other agencies. Ties right into it. How will you plan to coordinate and collaborate with local, state, and federal agencies to enhance law enforcement efforts within Pulaski County?
Well, that is huge, and I've talked about it many, many times, getting with our local agencies, especially our bordering sheriff and the counties that border us, to start working together. To enhance that teamwork, to enhance that intelligence and information sharing, to help each other. If I need to saturate an area, to bring their deputies into my area to help saturate and find out intelligence, and vice versa, giving them, some deputies that saturate the area, however it works. But working with those sheriffs and working with local agencies is a must. We have to do that, because if we're not working with our other agencies, we're working by ourselves. We can't do everything by ourselves. We have to be able to use that teamwork methodology and share that information and get that information out to the local law enforcement as well as the deputies and the sheriffs, so they can be on the lookout for maybe a suspicious vehicle or suspicious person or whatever intelligence we're looking for, so that when they see it, they can stop it. They can interject into that, and they can find out that information that we're desiring at that time. So teamwork. That's the only way that we're going to become successful in this county again.
Thank you so much. Nick, want me to read it?
Yeah, go ahead.
How do you plan to collaborate and coordinate with local, state, and federal agencies to enhance law enforcement efforts in Pulaski County?
A couple things, actually. One of the first things I'd like to do is sit down with all the department heads and hash out any issues we have. Just let's lay it out there. Let's figure it out, come together. I've got a good working relationship with the agencies. We work well with our other agencies, but the communication is a little bit broken. So not only do the department heads have to get together and hash out their differences and say, hey, how can we help each other out? But we got to give, like where Brian sits right now, I'd have to give him the ability to set up meetings, because they do the groundwork, right? So he needs to be able to say, okay, we're going to have a meeting of the minds amongst the other agencies, right? So all the detectives or all the road sergeants or however we get that set up, and give them the ability to get it, take action on it, and then have that follow through. So, we've got to be able to set our egos aside and say, we all work for the community, and we all got to come together. If one succeeds, we all succeed. And then the next thing is, let's not take credit for everybody's work. We all work together. So if we do it together, we need to take credit together and say, hey, you know, I worked with St. Robert, or we worked with St. Robert, or Richland, or Crocker, or whoever. But we also got to build that community trust that we've all talked about, and be able to bring that into those meetings and say, this is what our communities are doing, right? So we have municipalities. As a sheriff, you're covering the whole county. What's the municipalities dealing with? What are we seeing? That also goes back to crime mapping. But having actually fruitful meetings where we discuss the issues, we come to a resolution, and we implement that. Otherwise, we're just having coffee and donuts in the morning, and we're not getting anywhere. So,
Mr. Gibbs, shall I read the question?
First off, what's wrong with coffee and donuts in the mornings?
I'm a bagel guy now.
So,
We're going to do bagels, Brian.
like they've preached on it, it's working with your other agencies, getting together, holding those meetings and sharing intel. And the biggest thing, like Nick said, was putting egos aside, okay? Leadership is going to change regardless this time around. So luckily I've already been working with the other departments nearby on cases, as well as, you know, some three-letter agencies that are not here, some that are just right past that north gate. But getting with them, working with them, not only working with them, but training with them. And that's why anytime we get training that I could try and bring down for the Sheriff's Department, if I'm able to get a course like this OD Justice program, I want all of our guys to come to that training that are in this area. Because not only that, and having a task force, but that alleviates part of the work off the task force to where your TFO can remain back in the shadows and do his job more effectively because he's not out in the spotlight for working this case. But working together, training with them, holding monthly intel meetings just like you would any town hall meeting, putting your egos aside, and actually providing them when they need it. Because even like when it was asked at the forum, do you plan on locking out any of the smaller agencies as sheriff? Absolutely not. Do you know how many times my deputy has been out there by themselves and they've called either Dixon, Waynesville, St. Robert to come back them up? That is what we need. I mean, the egos and the problems lie within the leadership, and that's what we need to knock out, because those road guys, they know what's at risk. They have each other's backs. But the leadership, that's where the problems need to be hashed out if there's any problems.
All right, thank you so much. Any comments, commentary?
Yeah, that intelligence meeting, when I started reserving and when I was on the task force, we used to have that every month at St. Robert PD. I don't know what happened with that, why I don't know if they still even have it or not, but
So far, they don't. The one I get for intelligence meetings is usually the one put on by the Highway Patrol.
yeah, so I mean, that is an excellent venue, because Fort Leonard Wood would come off as well. The CID folks and other folks from Fort Leonard Wood, and we all the agencies, for the most part. I don't remember, I don't know if Crocker or Dixon or Richland ever came to them. I don't know why I don't know if they weren't invited or whatnot, but that should be the sheriff pushing that out to the and getting everybody in and getting back to that like St. Robert had prior. So that's a great information sharing tool, especially with Fort Leonard Wood, since they're right there with us.
Great, thank you so much. Nick?
So I don't know. I can tell you years ago when I was still with Crocker, I remember Brian, they would have meetings. We would attend if we could. We run one guy deep, and that was a difference. But I don't know about now. I only work part-time with an agency here. Osage County, I go to MIAC meetings every quarter when they have them, and it's usually pretty huge. They have a lot of agencies there. And it is a wealth of knowledge, but it's a lot broader. And not nearly as narrow focused as where we need to be on this level.
Is that something that other sheriffs from other counties can go to, or is that just the Osage County?
No, that's MIAC, Missouri Information Analysis. They
just
put
have
that
it
on.
at
That's a region. Yeah, it's Region F. So Region I believe, has them as well. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily drill down to our local issues, and I believe, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, that's where we need to get better at, is those local meetings. Hey, we got this issue. How are we going to address it together? That's all.
That's it? Okay.
Well, and part of that might be that, we don't host it in one location. We travel to Richland or Crocker because, like you said, they only got one deputy. Whereas, okay, St. Robert has more than one detective in a chain of command. Sheriff's Department has more than one detective in a chain of command. At least we can send a representative. It doesn't have to be the whole department, but you need to make sure there's a representative there in some way, shape, or form because those meetings are important.
Gotcha. Thank you so much. Switching back to harm reduction strategies. Who's up next? Stacy? Or
No, I think it's
I think
Stacy go.
I'm just keeping time.
I'm gonna poke at Brian. If you don't mind. You, Stacy's got it. Harm reduction strategies. How will you ensure the availability and accessibility of Narcan type products and other life-saving interventions? I know it's a sensitive topic for some, but I think we do support that now, so that's why I thought the question was relevant. But how will you ensure the availability of these products for the public?
Well, at this time, Brian's probably the only one who can speak. Do the deputies roll with Narcan because they used to?
They do.
Okay.
They do.
So we have Narcan, and obviously the paramedics and ambulance, they also have Narcan as well. So we used to carry it in a pack with like an ice brick inside of it to keep it cool. I think Narcan has changed a little bit where we don't have to do that no more because I know at the school we carry Narcan as well. As SROs, so we didn't have to worry about refrigerated. Our nurse, when she gave us the training, was like, don't worry about refrigerating. So, which makes it a little bit easier because we had to come back, we had to freeze that thing, we had to put it in the fridge, and so it's gone a long way. All patrols should have Narcan. They had the free Narcan machine down there as well, but that's a gimme. Narcan is, I don't know if it's grant-based now for the Narcan, but if it's not, Narcan is pretty pricey. But still, that's part of the necessity. Part of us serving the public and serving the people is to have that Narcan on us so that we can bring a life back should they overdose.
Thank you so much. Nick?
Read it one more time for me.
How will you ensure the availability and accessibility of Narcan and other life-saving interventions?
So we have Narcan vending machines now in this county. We can publicize that, but I'm going to be real honest, most of the addicts already know them. Most of the scenes I've been to in this county, Narcan's on hand. The biggest thing is training, how to use it, especially for civilians. We're trained on using it. We carry it. I carry it in both agencies. We have it and applying it. And I'm going to caveat that just a little bit. It is preventive. It does save lives, but we are extending that problem. That's where it's critical. If we have to apply it, we need to try and get the person help right then and there, not just say, well, they AMA'd, which is against medical advice. There's nothing we can do. That's kind of the beginning, that point of contact. But education, and it's sad to say, Stacy mentioned it about carrying Narcan in schools. What kind of society have we become where we have to worry about giving the SROs Narcan in our schools? That needs to be addressed, and that needs to be a hard topic to hit. But education, the vending machines are there. We are given enough to perform our duties, but pointing people to the vending machines is our best option because it's current, they keep it loaded, they make sure it's not out of date. That's about all I can answer for.
Great, thank you so much. Mr. Gibbs?
No, I'm not going to make you read it again.
Okay.
So
even footing.
But the way it's kind of worded is it kind of puts me on edge because it's asking how we, as the sheriff's department or sheriff's office, are going to supply it to the community. And that is a major liability for us because we shouldn't be supplying it to the community. We should have it on hand and trained to use it, yes, for when we're on those scenes. But the opioid committee, that's where most of your preventative measures like the Narcan machines and everything come from. Like Stacy touched on, it's hard to come by these days, and that should say something for our society because not just for Pulaski County, but when you're going across the United States and you're putting up Narcan machines, there's a problem.
Yeah.
And
That's
that
about
needs
the understatement
to be
of the
addressed.
decade right there.
And if it expires, we can't give expired Narcan. And that's one of the things that we're dealing with right now is because it's going to have to come from grants because it is so pricey. We're going to have to get that from the opioid committee. But as the sheriff's department, make sure all our deputies are trained on how to use it. All members of the sheriff's department are trained how to use it. Make sure they have it on them, which we do, and plenty on hand should they need to restock it. But as for going out and supplying it, that's something law enforcement would probably stay away from because that's a major liability, and that's just a lawsuit waiting to happen on us.
Okay. Thank you so much. Any feedback, comments, rebuttals? I've got a question from the audience. We're at 1 hour. We're not going to go too much further. And this is kind of open-ended, but I'm going to let you answer the way you want. So who's up now? Nick's up. Stacy had the last one.
Okay, that's fine.
This is from Shannon Ducky Becker. What will you do about the jail and the drain of money it has become? That's all I have. So I'll let you, maybe you can express your knowledge of it and what you plan to do.
Well, it'd be great that if we got so preventative we didn't have to put people in jail. That'd be an awesome thought. Again, that comes down to looking at where the money's going out of the jail. The jails, I'm going to tell you, I've looked at other sheriff's department. It is very intensive as far as money goes. Again, getting the federal inmates, which we have all talked about it at one point during our campaign, helps offset costs. Getting the board money back helps offset costs. Jails are not necessarily money makers, unfortunately. You can get money by their cell phone use. Believe it or not, they get them. They have tablets in a lot of jails. They can make money off of that. Commissary, they can make money. But it's not the money like you think it's going to be. You're not going to make a ton of money. We can help offset those costs, though, by watching it diligently and making sure that's ready to go.
Okay. Mr. Gibbs.
No, lovely. On part of what you said, I agree. On part of it, I disagree. And on the part I disagree on it is definitely a moneymaker if you can get those federal inmates and get paid daily for those beds. Because Phelps County's been doing that, and they make, you'll probably know, how much do they make? Probably about a month. So for every year, half a year, they're making millions based off what they can hold there. But you need to get in there. For one, as the sheriff, I would be making rounds daily. And not only talking to my COs, talking to the inmates to find out what's going on down there, the condition of it. You're not going to know the condition of it unless you're actually down there looking. Are they writing and coloring all over the walls? Because if so, someone's going to be cleaning that up.
No.
Looking at the budget, looking where the money's going. Like Nick said, they got phones, they got tablets. I'm sorry, but if I have to cut your TV as a bill to help make money and save money for this department and put that elsewhere that I could put elsewhere, like, I don't know, paying the bond off on the jail quicker, sorry, guys, but you can have your rec time. You may not get TV, but there's places you can move around money and cut money to fix that and to provide maintenance for it. And part of the problem that I believe we're facing now is in the budget for the jail, we've got about a $10,000 maintenance. $10,000
A month?
for the whole jail for the year.
Okay.
$10,000 for a year.
That's, I'm sorry, I shouldn't be interjecting, but that's shocking.
But and that's exactly right, because if a system goes down or something, the warranty's not there anymore. We've been in the jail long enough that if the contract's not renewed, the warranty's voided, we're paying that out of pocket. We got to find somewhere in the budget to get that money to get that fixed, operational, and back up and going. So it's a matter of sitting down, going through that budget with a fine-tooth comb, finding out what those problems are, and hammering them to get them fixed.
Great. Thank you. Stacy?
I'm just doing some math here real quick just to give the audience a snapshot. So 11 inmates, I meant to hit 10, but I hit 11. 11 inmates for the year, DOC, that's $381,000 roughly we could get from the federal government for housing, temporarily housing federal inmates. So that money is for the sheriff. That money is for the sheriff to make improvements to the jail, like to add on to that $10,000 maintenance, getting more jailers in there. Detention officers in there, getting more deputies on the road, getting uniforms, getting whatever the sheriff needs to run that facility, run that operation. That's $300 some thousand, off the top. And I used a low number because we need to, if we get them, we need to start low to make sure that we can maintain that and slowly build up. But we wouldn't be in this problem with the jail if we hadn't have overspent on the jail. We started out with an $8 million jail, and it ended up being a $16, $17 million jail. So right off the top of our law enforcement tax that people say, that's $1.2 million off the budget. So that's $500,000. It was supposed to be $500,000 or so projected to pay off that $8 million jail. It's $1.2 million. So that's $500,000 plus that we don't put into our law enforcement tax, and get back to the sheriff's office to offset that budget.
Any comments?
He's pulling out paperwork. I think he's.
We're getting serious now.
Okay, so you got to bring it up to federal standards, right? Beds have to be so high, which they should be. So many COs on, that type of thing. So it's going to remain a hole for a while. And then two, once you start getting those inmates in, you've got to maintain that, because that's money that's going to fluctuate. So you can't always bank on it. When it's there, though, as Stacy said, it's a plus, but you better stockpile it and account for it and be able to say, okay, I'm going to need to spend it over a period of years, not, hey, I got $500K, I want to, buy 4 new cars, whatever. Right. I'm just saying, you can't count on it all the time. I watched other jails. Phelps County's fortunate. They got new jail, really nice facility, people, and they were able to get them in pretty quick. And we've struggled getting there. I know you got something. You got the budget.
Yeah, I went to the budget. So the jail bond, like Stacy said, the jail went up from was supposed to be $8 million to 15, 16, whatever million dollars. The yearly budget that goes to the jail bond for this year, for 2024, that was approved, $1.3 million. And if you need $15 million to pay that off before you can house federal inmates. That's why it's so important that we go through the budget, find out where we can make cuts, where we can make improvements, because if we can, we need to increase that payment. Because if not, we'll still be paying on it for our 4 years. The next guy will be paying on it for his 4 years. And then maybe, just maybe, the next guy will be lucky enough that it'll be paid off. And then the money can start coming in. But we need to sit down, look at it, and get that fixed, or find a way to bring in money, whether it be through MOU agreements, to bring money into the jail to make it less cost heavy. Because otherwise, you're not going to come out in the green. You're going to be in the red.
Good. You got more?
I got a little more, and just what he said. I mean, kind of backed up what I've been saying. There is a workaround to get federal inmates, and whoever the new sheriff is needs to find that workaround. And from the research I've done, and it's going to take lawyers and IRS people to figure this out and help us figure this out. Whether it's paying taxes at the beginning, if we're 10 inmates times whatever amount, we'll say $95, and paying whatever income tax the IRS wants, or paying it quarterly, that could be the two workarounds. Just from what I've read, there could be other stipulations, but but there is a workaround. We got to find that. We got to get the lawyers and we got to get the IRS, so that way, we don't have to worry about it now because we don't have federal inmates, so we don't have to worry about the IRS coming after us for making money on that jail. But I hope we can find a workaround, whoever the new sheriff is, to finally get those federal inmates and temporarily house them like was originally planned.
Any rebuttal, commentary?
Just to add on to what he said, one of the other workarounds is that we get our butts in there, We get it planned out, we get it fixed out, we start taking care of problems, and then if we're at a point to where we can do it, is you get with the commissioners, you get a bank loan, you pay that off, and you start making bigger payments to the bank. Because if we get a bank loan, those bonds are gone. Guess what? If we get ourselves to a position where we can get that bank loan, the interest rate will be high, don't get me wrong, but you get the bank loan, you get rid of those bonds, you can start housing those inmates, it starts going in, the money's raking in, you can get it paid off sooner, even if it's a bank loan.
Right. Thank you.
You got the budget there. What was the law enforcement? The law enforcement tax, I think, was 2.9, maybe 3.2 million. To subtract that one,
It's 2.8.
2.8 million, and then subtract that million plus that we're taking off for the jail, so that the people know that, you know, because some people say we got more money than, you know, we can shake a stick at. Not true. So
Yeah, there's definitely a misperception. Oh, sorry.
Well, I'm pretty sure that the law enforcement tax is 2.8, but the way that it got used over the years is something that we're going to have to go through and untangle.
I about interjected an opinion. I got to remember, it's not that kind of talk, so I'll just shut my mouth. But thank you so much. I got 2 more questions left. This is moderator's call. For the voters out there, and it's the last question, you can imagine what it was with this one. I'm a statistics buff, and I'm a numbers buff, and I'm a bean counter. Provide the voters a summary of your accomplishments in law enforcement, either statistically, with statistics, arrest, a summary, or however you got it. And the last, how you, for lack of a better term, your accomplishments, what you've done as a law enforcement officer in the past 5 to 10 years.
Statistically, that's going to be extremely, extremely hard because, I mean, you have to go by a case-by-case basis. You'd have to look back and say, how many people did I arrest in this case? What did I do in this case? So I myself can't provide you the statistics.
Okay.
But honestly, I'm sure if you want to do a sunshine request to either the PA's office to see how many probable cause statements I've turned in the last year or whatever, you can go that route. But I know as a supervisor, I mean, I had one detective that did over 63 search warrants just on electronic devices alone, mostly related to sexual offenses on kid cases. So in my current position, it's not my job to track my statistics.
Right.
It's my job to sit there and make sure my guys are doing their jobs and how well their statistics are looking.
And I
That's a
am willing
reflection
to
of my work.
defer. It could have been a poorly worded question, but if you want to answer, you can yield out and no fault. Stacy?
yeah, I mean, it's hundreds of cases since, you know, I've been a deputy detective and task force officer, school resource officer. I mean, it's 12, 14 years of work. I mean, it's a lot of, it's kind of a unanswerable question to put down specifics of an exact number. I could just say over hundreds.
Okay.
No, he's not done.
Yield to her.
Okay, so
And it could have been a poorly questioned, but
yeah, it's kind of a odd question,
you
but
don't
I
have to
think-
pick on me.
So I can tell you right now, the average caseload, you know, I carry about 10 cases myself, and I monitor about 40 to 50. I do a lot of fraud crimes right now, so it's more getting subpoenas through and all that versus search warrants. I don't know, I've done probably a half a dozen this year for digital media. If you go back and look at the time when I was chief, as assistant chief, the traffic with a little, given the proper leadership and guidance, grants, drives the train. The last year I was with that agency, which was 21, we went from roughly 20 different drug cases. Now that's combined, so you're talking possession and possession of drug paraphernalia, vice versa, to 2 in the following 2 years compared to when I was there. We were averaging 20, anywhere from 15 to 25 a year. That was proactive, going out chasing it. Most of that's coming through the town, not necessarily what's in town. During that tenure, we also had probably one of the largest drug busts in that city, which was 190 grams, I think, of meth. It was awesome. It was a white supremacist out of Joplin. Stopped him right in front of the PD.
Wow.
Made it really convenient. But so given the right leadership, you can do a lot with a little. I've pitched it. I've lived it. I'd actually have to go back. The UCR, it's all public info too, by the way, minus when you get into an agency, you're asking Brian for his specifics or my specifics.
I guess that's it.
You would have to actually go to the agency. That's what I was trying to add in there.
Yes. So I do have a rebuttal, and the reason I have this rebuttal is because on one of your previous interviews, it kind of irked me because you said you've worked over 200 cases as a detective with Pulaski County, to include sex crimes, et cetera, and this and that. From 2010, because I did a sunshine request from 2010 to 2024, there's a total of 31 cases, and 8 of those came from when you were an SRO. So are the rest of those from the task force? And how did the task force tie into the sexual nature and stuff of those crimes? Because I don't recall that either when I was with the prosecutor's office or at the sheriff's department.
Yeah, all my task force information is in the highway patrol computer for the drug task, or for the Missouri Highway Patrol. So everything I did for the task force went into their computer, their portal, and that's where majority of my drug cases are. Waynesville also has cases for me as well, because I did cases when we were at one time attached to Waynesville. So just the information I have in Pulaski County, it's Waynesville as well. It's the Missouri Highway Patrol and the Drug Task Force secure portal.
I was going to throw a caveat to the community.
Throw one out there.
Yeah. So a lot of people want the stats, and I understand that. And that's what I was trying to explain. I ran out of time. When you look at our individual stats, you can pull down, as a leader, right? A sheriff, a chief, you can pull down those and drill down into those on UCR, so you can see an agency, right? But when you get into our stats, so like I'm going from memory, I can tell you first year I was in Crocker, we filed 116 cases at the state level. I just remember that because we literally tripled the number that went state. But you actually have to go to those individual agencies and sunshine requests. The state has, I believe, an evidence depository that you have, a custodian of records. So if you ever want to go to the state, you actually have to go to the State Highway Patrol custodian of records. You have to request online. Same way with our sheriff's department, you have to sunshine it. And sometimes it's really hard. So for detectives, like if I said, I want to see all Brian's cases, I want to see all Stacy's cases, or the gentleman that's in our audience, here's what happens. You actually have to find out what those cases are, because as a detective, I may not open one, but I do all the follow-up and that follow-on investigation. And so sometimes those numbers get a little skewed in there. Mm-hmm. So I track my cases because I carry so many. I need to see what I have to do on all of them. So it gets hard to get in there and drill it down. And be honest, I haven't sunshine requests.
And I admit sometimes apples and oranges don't mix and they don't play. Yeah. Go ahead, Mr. Gibbs.
A little bit more to add. I am in the position to know when some stuff does come through emails. So I also did a sunshine request for any numbers that provided to the task force from when you were there. So from 2018 to 2021, there was 46 informant buys, 21 consent searches, 56 search warrants, and 3 investigative reports. But statistically, through like your webpage and stuff, you've been a part of 300 covert operations or whatever, and the task force has only had, from 2018 to 2024, a total of 361 investigations during the time period here.
Yeah, adding into all that, we had or the undercover buys for that I set up for our undercover sting in there.
I have
No.
everybody's stats for every officer that has worked here, and what was recovered. As you can see, I just nixed out the whole name except for the first initial on them.
Well, when we run surveillance cases, when we run surveillance for undercover operations, we're also a part of that case. I may not be the investigative officer, but I am one of the investigators for that case. I set up the buys. I set up the undercover buys for with the CI because it's my CI that's working. Totality was what I was going on. It's not three. That 100 undercover work was part of that undercover operation we did for Pulaski County in 2020. Totaled into over the search warrants. I'm sorry, not search warrants, but also the drug operations that I did out, in Pulaski County and other counties.
Any,
I think you had the stats. I did.
yeah. Okay. I got one last question for y'all. It's just we get 3 minutes. What makes you the best candidate? Who's next?
Who do we start with?
You got the mic, or Stacy got the mic? Go ahead and kick it off.
I'll let him answer because I just had your last question right here. With
All right, go ahead.
So it's on
Stacy,
Stacy.
you're it.
Why I should be the best candidate for sheriff? Well, the totality of my work for the last 30 years in the military and working for this county, working for the drug task force, and currently working up in Fel. I mean, I've put a lot of work into this county and learning how to be a leader in law enforcement. I've never been a leader of a section in law enforcement, but I've been a leader my entire daggone life. The things that I've done as far as being a community servant, serving my community as well, and the things that I do in the civil and some of the religious activities that I'm in, and taking meals to my fellow citizens in the county from the lodge, or taking meals during Christmas or during Thanksgiving. To be a servant of the county, you have to first be a servant by itself. You just can't come in here and just start serving. And I think I've earned a lot of respect from the county, from the citizens in this county, by knowing that I'm out there serving, knowing I'm out there doing other things other than just being a police officer, just other than being a detective or narcotics. And I've been that way my entire life here in Pulaski County. It's not about me. It's about the community. It's about the people in the community, the citizens. That's what it's all about. So if we're going to serve, we first need to be a servant. We need to bring the community together, and I think I can bring the community together. I've been talking about that for the whole time I've been campaigning, is bringing that community together and coming in and working as a team, working with the other agencies, bringing them together, working as a team. Deputies, there's a lot of good things that go on in that sheriff's office that, it's not all negative. But going to the deputies, going to the different section to find out what's going right. So that way we can sustain those things going right, and then find out what is not going so right, what's going wrong, so we can fix that, whether it's through training, whether it's through implementing new measures, and to bring that deputy up to the next level, because there's a lot them deputies down there, they're craving to bring out their potential. And there's a lot of deputies out there that their potential has not come out yet. I'm going to untap that potential. I'm going to bring that potential out of these deputies, and we're going to charge along. We're going to make that Pulaski County Sheriff's Department what should have been from the get-go. We're going to expand our horizons. We're going to bring in new deputies, and when they come in, they're going to get a full background check. They're going to get fingerprints. We're going to make sure we're bringing in quality deputies that meet the standard and want to maintain the standard and want to do great things and keep this community safe.
Thank you, Mr. Ball. Mr. Pappas,
So
3 minutes.
I bring more experience in training than others. I have held and continue to hold some form of leadership position in civilian law enforcement as well as my CID career, and I've maintained that consistently. I've consistently served this community and been a servant to the community and tried to be the best warden of their taxpayer money that I can be in those positions. From chief, assistant chief, coroner, I'm a part-time officer for another agency, still serve as deputy coroner 6.5 days a week. I don't have to. There's a need for it. And we have an obligation to fulfill that need. I can lead from the front. I bring it. I still do it day in and day out. So it takes more than just somebody saying, hey, I'm a leader. I've worked the road, continue to work the road, work cases, doing the coroner duties. And the coroner duties, again, I reiterate, has brought a different light, in my approach. When you start seeing the devastation caused by anything, motor vehicle accidents, overdose, whatever it may be, you start to realize, hey, sometimes being that harsh cop isn't always a kosher thing, right? Brings a little bit of empathy and a different light and different perspective to it. I am a tightwad when it comes to budget, so I can do a lot with a little. You just got to watch where that money goes. Quality over quantity, bring in quality people, not necessarily a warm body to fill a seat, right? If you can lead them from the front, show them how to do it, not just talk about it, but show them how to do it. Get your hands dirty, because I'm telling you now, if I don't know how to do it, I'm going to learn it before I expect you to do it. And I'll never ask anyone to do anything I haven't done or can't do or won't do myself. I still chase people through the woods. Unfortunately, I was telling you the war story before. I'm getting a little bit old to do it, but hey, you got to do what you got to do, right? I believe in that transparency. I believe in talking to the community. I have lived it. I still continue to do it. I don't take breaks from the job. I don't have that luxury. I don't believe taking a break. Crime doesn't take a break. I'm not going to take a break just to campaign, period. If we take a break, that means somebody's getting harmed or getting ripped off or whatever it may be. That's just the bottom line. So when you look at work ethic, look at the resumes, I will back my resume. You can do the research. We've all talked about vetting us. Vet it. And I do get a little aggressive. And it's more passion for the job than aggressiveness. I'm good.
Thank you, Mr. Pappas. Mr. Gibbs.
You said you're old. I didn't, but we're just going to leave that there.
I believe that's what Thomas Jefferson said was self-evident, but I'll leave it at that. Go.
Yeah. Like they both said, I may not have the years of experience he did because, I'm a younger chicken. But, I'm currently in a leadership position there. I've shown my leadership to the individuals within the department. I have their respect. I'm always there. They know they can come to me. I'll give you my cell phone one day. Whenever I want a day off, I'll give you my cell phone, and you can, the calls that come in, day or night, it doesn't matter. Granted, I don't do as many jobs as he does because I got a family, so, I do want some time with them. But I've been there. I've been building the rapport. I see what the needs for the sheriff's department are. They know my leadership style. They know that they can come to me with any problems, and I'll do my best, one, to not step over my bounds, to go in somebody else's lane if it's a different division, but two, to help them try and resolve the problem with minimal issues so that, both sides are happy. And conflict resolution is going to be a big part of this job when you get down to it within the department. So, I've been working it. I'm still doing it. I don't have the years. I don't have the years of straight up leadership. Not going to argue that on either side, but I'm there now. I'm producing the leadership within the department. I take care of everybody that's beneath me. They see that, they respect that, and that makes them go that extra for you. So.
Okay. Thank you. Any follow-up? 1 minute limit. Well, I want to thank each one of you for showing up today. Not everybody could be here. Not all the candidates could be here. Had some for some reason or not, but I want to give the applause button to each one of you for volunteering to serve the community in Pulaski County as sheriff, whether you win or not. But I think everybody online and abroad and who will watch us later would like to shake your hand and thank you for at least stepping up to serve the community in whatever capacity you're going to serve, whether it's supporting the sheriff or becoming the sheriff. I know as far as me and my family, we appreciate you all and we love you dearly, and I appreciate you supporting the show. Thank you so much. We're going to go to the credits scene, and thanks you, everybody, for all the comments.
Thanks, Doug.
You bet. I appreciate you supporting us.